community, these can be available for that. And I think great idea. Um, I thought we could go ahead and do our introductions. I'm Jordan. I'm the president of the GEU. I'm in sociology for 7, and yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley. I'm the vice president of the GEU. I'm a fifth year PhD student in leadership and education policy. Also, as we get started, just a couple of logistical pieces. We are recording this call. So we will be posting both of these calls after the one that we did last night and today's, so that folks who weren't able to make it can also see the information that we're talking about. And I would also say for anybody, if when you're on the call, if you're not talking, just to make sure to keep yourself muted so we don't end up with any feedback. But I also posted the link to the agenda in the chat, so everyone should be able to access that. And there's a lot of information in there as well if you want to read along with some of the updates that we have.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Gali. I'm Stuart, I think. I know I am, yeah. And I'm in sociology. And many years ago, I started, so I don't know. But yeah.
And I'm Kate. I am a PhD student also in sociology and also in my 7th year.
This is Albus.
This is Albus. He doesn't know anything.
He knows everything. It looks like we have somebody that called in. If you would like to introduce yourself, if you're unable to do so on mic, you are welcome to put it in the chat and we can read it as we go. I see Mary Hartford has already done that. She is the Union Guide. She's a 3rd year PhD student in geography, and her mic is working. And we have Jillian, 4th year PhD student in ed leadership. Hello, Jillian. And Tessa, who is in higher education and student affairs, and she's watching a baby currently. That's really cute. So I think everyone. So we can go ahead and get started. We can start with just a summary of the concerns we have received the last couple of weeks, whether it's directly in email or in the Google form that we sent out. But they are primarily 4 things: childcare, research, workload, and health and well-being. Childcare, I mean, schools closed. So if you have a child, it's a concern, especially if you are continuing to work. We are currently trying to figure out how to homeschool our 8-year-old and telecommute, although we had a call with room organizers at the school today, and it turns out the work is optional. That is absolutely not has been said to us for the last week, but it is also that gives us a little bit more room to figure it out. But anyway, childcare is for folks, being able to meet all of the demands that are currently on us. Also research, so that's sort of twofold, making adequate progress on research projects, but also expectations to continue coming into a lab or research space in person. And then workload, this is largely workload, the amount of time it takes to transition a course to online. CLAS requested that every updated syllabi by Friday. They did say the town hall the other day, or yesterday, that if you're having trouble with that, reach out to your department for your class online. And then general health and well-being, whether it's staying like healthy from or keeping your family healthy, but also like health and the ability to stay like holistically healthy while we're on like extreme isolation, especially for people who maybe don't have any of their family, whether it be chosen or otherwise, around them. Also, anybody can type in, mute, and say, hey, if you have something to add, if you have a question, for any reason. Ashley, do you want to add anything to that?
Nope, it's great.
Okay. Can start us off with the updates from the town hall. Ashley took some amazing notes yesterday and put them in the agenda. There's also a link in the agenda to the most recent university guidance. And just FYI, it's a little bit hard sometimes to find on the website, but they do have all of their previous guidance archived. So you can, if there's some prior piece of information that is relevant to you, then it should be there. But as of yesterday, we are now making the transition to all non-critical staff being on campus. For research, this means that all research is ramping down. Emphasis on working from home right now is really important, and giving agency to individuals to make choices to stay at home. And I think that might be close to a direct quote from what they were saying yesterday, that they wanted people to have agency to make that choice. Let's hope that that happens in practice. But also still providing critical support for essential functions within like a research setting, like maintaining animals. They gave like a pretty good list of like what critical might actually mean. So if you have animals, you need reagents, human testing that might end up like causing the human harm if they don't continue. All of that kind of stuff will continue until further notice. And also, as far as animals go, like, because I personally am concerned about this, but they won't stop giving things to animals that might, like treatments or that might put the animal in discomfort being discontinued. And I'll stop about that too critically right there, or I'll get really sad. Just checking the chat to make sure there's no questions. Was that a hand? Were you waving at us?
Waving.
Oh, hi, Laura. All right. So they did say, I think this might have been in reference to the question that I submitted for the town hall, but they said that the guiding principle of what constitutes an essential function should follow the CDC guidance as a starting point. Limiting social interactions, limiting any contact within the research situation, prioritizing only absolutely necessary research activities. I know this has been a concern for a number of GAs. So far, we haven't had anyone reaching out to say, hey, I asked and my supervisor says that I have to do this, have to come in to do this non-essential thing. What we had is people being like, how do I even get started with this? What is the protocol so that I know where to start, like with my supervisor? And we do have linked a resource guide, some communication that will give you like some language to communicate with your supervisor about trying to work from home. But data collection with human subjects should be postponed in accordance with social distancing guidelines, with the exception that I mentioned earlier, that if it's an intervention that the human now needs and relies on, those should continue. And let's see. Questions about determining what is essential should be directed to the OVPR's office, the Associate Vice, or the, what is this? Office of the Vice President for Research. I'm doing great. The university has more detailed guidance for the research community and others on the page that they created. This is also linked in the agenda. So this coming up one again is up to this point, but it's something that we are wanting to be vigilant about. Funding, if you are on a grant, with funding for RAs may arise here, particularly related to the kind of grant you are on. At the town hall yesterday, they said that continuation of funding for research assistants will be, quote, more nuanced and case by case than teaching assistants, because teaching assistants are, yeah, Ashley's no, that was my exact reaction. I was like, I don't think so. Federal funding agencies have indicated flexibility in research delays. The president also noted that there are a number of research functions that can happen from home, and so we should be focusing on getting those done. But this is our ask, y'all. If you or anyone you know starts to hear that they might lose their current appointment, out to us ASAP. We have a contract. And within that contract is appointment security. They can't just fire you. So let us know. We will help you navigate it. We will grieve it, because our pretty justified position is that they cannot fire you because of a pandemic. We'll keep paying you. So UConn Health now has a call center that will take questions about health concerns, symptoms, etc. The phone number is in our agenda. And Ashley, would you like to take over for a bit?
Yeah. So before I go into the next item, Tessa asked about, at the town hall, they didn't directly mention funding for GAs that are not teaching or doing research. I wouldn't anticipate any problems with that because, as Jordan mentioned, we have a provision in our contract, which is an appointment security provision. So for those folks who are doing administrative or programmatic roles, as Tessa was referring to, they should be continuing to be paid through the university. Based on my knowledge of what most of those roles are, there should definitely be provisions for distance work or telecommuting. And if anybody, as we said before, is running into any issues after requesting to be telecommuting, please do reach out to us directly, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but hopefully we won't see any issues with that. So going back to online instruction for TAs, so as Jordan mentioned earlier, the timeline that's in place to move instruction online is this coming Monday. For some folks, they've received requests from their department or their college to submit updated syllabi or plans. There are a ton of resources for this. The Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning has just really been doing a phenomenal job in terms of putting resources out there for online instruction. However, the university also recognizes that there may be things that have prevented instructors from getting their course into place to be ready to go online for Monday, whether that is illness or childcare or anything else that came up over the course of this week. So if that's the case for you or anybody that you know, please reach out to your supervisor and to your department as quickly as possible to let them know, hey, this is where I'm at, so that you can make sure that you can work with them to figure out how to best deliver your course starting next week. So in terms of coming to work in person, right, because of where we're at right now, there should really not be anybody except for essential or critical employees coming to the university. If your work, that's going to be something that does have to be figured out. Human Resources did say that they're working with unions. We haven't actually heard from them yet, but we are open to working with them on this to figure out, what does it look like to shift people's supplemental descriptions of duties or work or whatever to be slightly different to make telecommuting possible for the remainder of this time. But what we need from you is that, again, if you or anybody that you know is being asked to come into work in person, and what you're being asked to do, it does not seem like it is critical or essential, right? So things, basically what we're talking about is like tasks that maintain the health and safety of like people, right, at the university, or those animal subjects, or what we were talking about before. So there are people who, yes, are going into work because that is the nature of their work. Doing your normal job as a GA, like 95% of the time, is not going to fall into one of those functions. So if that is the case, we're asking folks to contact us, send us a description of your work, your supplemental description of duties, and tell us what you're being asked to do in person, and just generally what the nature of your workplace is. If you could say that to us in layman's terms, that would be super helpful, particularly if you're doing technical or scientific research. Those of us who check the union email are primarily social scientists. So, but the important thing is, let us know if that's not being honored for you, because it's really important that we act on that and make sure that folks have that option, and that that's being accommodated. Summer research travel. I know that many of us are in the place of planning research for a dissertation or a thesis. If you are making any travel arrangements, if you are planning on doing research elsewhere this summer, you should make those arrangements in the most flexible way possible. So make sure that you are getting travel insurance or protection. Make sure that you are, anything that you're booking, flights, hotels, rental cars, have cancellation options, because we really just don't know how long this is going to go for and what the situation is going to be. So it's still okay to be planning forward, but we really should be doing that in a way that is not going to, as researchers, or if you're working with a grant, right, like you're going to need to figure out how to do that another time. So just something to think about, although it's not directly related to our employment as GAs, just something to think about. So for international staff who are on H-1B visas, if you are continuing to do basically the same work that you're doing in your role, and that you're continuing to live within commuting distance of the university, this one's really, really important. So if you are telecommuting, doing, research analysis from home or teaching from home, you can't really leave the state. You can't like travel far out, because that would have an impact on your visa. So you still need to live within commuting distance of the university, and then your visa status should be fine. If for some reason you stop working, which, as we said before, within the current contract period, should not be an issue for any of our members, you would be okay for 30 days with that visa status. And the guidance from the university for anybody who has questions about that is to contact the university general counsel. And we've linked there to their website. So if anybody does have questions about that. For folks who are living continuing to live on campus in stores or in the stores area, the university's bus service will continue at this point, and they're operating on a reduced schedule. So basically, they're running the weekend schedule on a 7-day basis. So that is still currently happening for folks maybe who are living in Northwood and need to get other places on campus or downtown. We do have the link here to our resource guide for GAs. That's a sort of like a holistic living document. We've been categories. If it's missing something, or if you have something that you think would be great to add to that list, please let us know, because we will be more than happy to include things in there. And then we sort of just want to open it up for discussion and questions to see if there's anything that folks want to talk about at this point.
Hi, I have a question. So I saw that Mary Bagby shared a link through WhatsApp in one of our WhatsApp groups about what's it called? Let me find it. So I want to call it right.
The link tree.
The what? Sorry.
Are you talking about the mutual aid, the link tree?
Mutual aid. I know other people are doing that. I know the Neighbor Fund is kind of transitioning a little bit of their budget to that for Willimantic. Do we have any other, what do you guys think about that? I guess that's my most general question. If we put some resources on helping the community of students through these means. I know they're doing it everywhere. Like I know DSA in North Texas.
The thing
doing
is,
things in
you
Lubbock.
have to have an agreement by the membership. It has to be voted
Oh,
on
yeah, that's true.
to spend money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We don't have a mutual aid plan set up yet. As Kate said, if we were going to use money from our union budget toward aid, we would have to take a vote of the membership. But that doesn't mean that we can't set up other types of mutual aid, right? A lot of times mutual aid doesn't involve exchanging money in any way. So our organizing committee is going to meet tomorrow. We're meeting at 11. And that's one of the things that I want to put on the agenda for our organizing committee is to think about sort of what are the needs that folks might have and what are the ways that members might be able to fill those needs. So thinking about mutual aid from that truly collaborative concept, right? Like, if there's somebody who does for some reason need to continue to go in to the lab in stores because they're keeping mice alive or whatever. I truly don't understand these things, but right, if that's the case, right, I live 10 minutes from campus, and if they need someone to watch their kid for a couple of hours, I could volunteer to do that. Like thinking, what are both the resources and the needs that we have within our community, and maybe coming up with a way to pool some of those things. So I think that's a good question. I haven't looked at the link tree yet. That's something I'm going to do, but my understanding is that it kind of operates in that way of like basically. And any other ideas that folks have about setting up a mutual aid program, I think would definitely be welcomed, whether you want to, pop into the OC or send an email. But I think in the absence of, we do have a membership meeting next week, so we might be in a place where we can take a vote to allocate some funds, but we can also do a lot of things that don't involve spending on our budget at all.
I'll be right back. My cat just stole a pumpkin and I don't want him to eat it.
If folks have questions, you can put them in the chat as well.
He's mischievous. You can, if you're having mic trouble, you can, or just don't want to talk, you can submit questions to the chat. I will reiterate what Ashley said. Take a look at the resources because we are trying to make it like a holistic document that speaks to a number of people's lives. It's not just employment stuff, and we are trying to like keep it updated. There might be something in there that you or someone you know could use. Thanks, Ashley. Ashley just put it in the chat. If anybody wants to look at it. I'm actually gonna make it for myself. I was gonna look up, unless anybody knows here, what the current bus service situation is for like the 913. Because I know a lot of people, if there's anybody like still living on this, like for a lot of people, that is the way that they get a lot of things is by going to Manchester or. In addition to questions or concerns, if there's anything that you want to see, like somebody last night suggested having these meetings regularly, so that people can just like, check in, sort of like virtual office hours. Um, if there's anything like that that you would like to see. If we don't have any more, also end the meeting. Last night's was about this long. So like pretty on par. So if nobody has any questions, certainly don't want to keep you. But I will, we can end now if people want to. Excellent, Laura. Yes, it will be via WebEx. I will send out an email. I'm being realistic tomorrow. Is when that's going to happen. With details and instructions. But yeah, we'll have it via WebEx. I will also say that the UAW president, Rory Gamble, emailed and asked people to like cancel their membership meetings because no one else does on and the UAW as an institution can't fathom doing things that way. They can't fathom actually not being in an auto shop for the most part. So that's, and if everybody else wants to cancel, I think it's important because we are all still doing our jobs for the most part. It's important for us to continue meeting how. So we're gonna do that.
And if anything comes up, please do send us an email. Let us know any questions or concerns or ideas that you have. And as I said, the organizing committee will be meeting every Friday, 11 a.m.
Yes,
the World
you're
Wide Web on WebEx. So yeah, anything that comes up at all, I know that sometimes it feels like, oh, I don't know if I should contact, the union about this, but we're really all doing this together. We're all figuring it out together, and we're trying to, as staff members, be as responsive to our members' needs as we can. But constant feedback and insight and information about what folks are actually experiencing is just super helpful and important. So if we haven't done something yet that you think that we should be doing, or it's probably because we haven't thought about it. So truly, please do drop us a line and let us know what's going on for you.
Yeah. With that, we can say goodbye. Thank you everybody for coming. We'll see you soon. Hopefully we'll see you on Friday or next Wednesday.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.